So today I want to talk a little bit about AA. And each time I try to make this video, it ends up like 15 minutes long. So I'm going to try to blast through this. Facts. You're going to look online, you're going to look up AA success rate. You're going to find studies that show really low success rate. You're going to find studies that show a really high success rate. When it boils down to it, it's what you put into it. If you are honest with yourself and you work a program, and I say work a program, I mean like get a sponsor, talk to them every day, do the steps, get involved, go to meetings. And I say, if you can make a meeting every single day, do it. Now, I say that with caution because for me, AA did help me get sober, and that for me was the only way to get sober at the time. And so I think it's a good, solid source to kind of just get yourself a little bit grounded, to get working through the steps and get your life back on track. Some will say, to get the heat off, right? If you go the route that I think I plan on doing, and that's kind of like I'm done with AA, and you tell other people this, for one, make sure that you're on good terms with those people, okay? Some of us have broken relationships, destroyed relationships, and they might not ever get mended back ever again, and some do, okay? For example, I've had people who absolutely had no trust in me, who said, "You're done out of my life. Um, you're no longer a trustworthy person at all." And that's a shitty feeling, right? To now have me really involved in their life and a trusted person, and to the point where they're like, if something happens, I'm calling you first. So to go from absolutely black sheep of the family to like the most trusted person they know is a great feeling. Now, I say, if you do go the route of AA and you do obtain those relationships back, don't be like, I'm going to quit AA and that's it. Because people see AA worked for you, got you sober, you're trusted again. Now, if you leave AA, if you don't go to AA, you need to get some kind of, I'm going to say, spiritual foundation with God. And I'm not talking about just go to church and hear what the pastor has to say. I'm talking about get involved with God, personal relationship with God. Read the Bible. Look up scripture, see what it means. Get info. Some of the scriptures, I'm not gonna say it's complicating because I don't think so, but I'm the type of person where I could look at a puzzle and I will be there for an hour. Okay. So sometimes I have to nitpick it. Sometimes I have to do homework on it. Sometimes I have to like kind of figure it out. Um, you know. So let me get into why I'm kind of just done with AA. I went to a meeting with my wife, to a speaker meeting, and it was just like this huge celebrity get together, red carpet kind of deal, okay? I'm trying to introduce my wife to one or two, maybe like two or three individuals, but one at a time, and say, look, this is so and so, really helped me get sober when I first got here. And like I said, I've been doing AA for years, so this is just me coming back, a new group of people. I said, this person, helped me out. And they're worried about who has their seat, literally, like sitting in the spot, but has their actual chair. Okay. And I know one person's going to think he's talking about me, but it's actually not. This is Real Rancho. So um, the celebrity uh, red carpet walk, if you will. I've had people I'm trying to sit there and have a conversation with, and all they care about is the pretty girl walking through the door and checking her ass out and being like, give me a second. I'll go talk to her real quick, you know? Um, you know, so that's why I always tell people I love AA, but people ruined it. Um, it has become so huge on uh, celebrity vibe, if you will. Chairman, they go up there and they chair and they pick on their 10 favorites, and they got 15 years of sobriety and they just, always have that same speech, right? And that's fine. That's great. Got 10 years, but it's always the same speech no matter what the topic is. So let me get back into that. So the topic was, I'm just going to jump into this and kind of just go further. I'm sitting in a meeting and I was known for relapsing, like kind of like first 30 days, like for 70 days. Okay. Um, so the topic is being in a place that you have no business being, meaning there's going to be alcohol there. So is it a wedding you should be going to, or is it a wedding you probably shouldn't go to? Is it your friend's wedding, or is it, you know, your wedding? Whatever the case might be, why are you going there? And so I raised my, or no, I didn't even raise my hand. Sorry. They called on me and wanted me to talk. And so I started talking, saying, I do go to places that have alcohol. I have my iced tea, I have my root beer, whatever it is that I'm drinking at the moment, and it's not alcohol. And it does not bother me. Now, if you're new to putting alcohol away and you're new to sobriety, I absolutely would not suggest that to anybody. Do not go out there. Do not go out into a place that has alcohol because it's tempting. It really is. I'm not going to even lie. There's been times I've thought about it, but that goes away really fast. So, with that said, um, while I was talking, this guy, he's known for having money. He always talks about having money and how it's so hard to stay sober because he has money, and he deserves extra credit because he has a lot of money and he can drink whenever he wants, as much as he wants, right? And he's got a nice car, and he's got his bling on. Um, he interrupts me while I'm sharing in the meeting, which is already a kind of like a no. Um, and he's just like, you know what? Nobody in this room believes that you're sober, and you say you're going out to these bars and you go to restaurants that sell alcohol when you were a chronic relapser, and nobody believes you that you have, I think it was like 7 months. I don't even keep track of how much time I have. I'm sober today. But it's like over 6 months or something. So, whatever, this guy doesn't believe me. But when he said, we've all talked about it and we all agree that you're probably not sober or and working the program. And I looked around and I saw some people that I thought were some people I looked up to, people that I would say, if I needed to talk to them, those are the ones I would go to. When he said, we've sat there and talked about it and we agree that you're not sober. And I looked around the room and I saw some of those people like, yeah, really? The big book says we talk about each other a great deal, but we do it in love. That sounds like gossip to me because no one came up to me and talked to me about it and said, hey, look, we were talking and we really, Are you really staying sober? Do you need help in any other way? You know, stuff like that. So I think this guy was actually pissed off that because he's like, I don't, I've been sober for, I think he said 16 years, and I don't go to bars, and I'm not going to go because I don't want to get tempted. Maybe he's pissed off because I enjoy my life and I could go out and I could go to, Olive Garden. I could go to a brewery that sells, sushi or whatever food truck is there because I like food trucks. I mean, who doesn't, right? So after that, I was just like, and I looked around the room and I was just like, all right, well, see you guys later. I just got up and I left. Now, will I ever go back to a meeting? Probably. Um, I do like the meetings. Sometimes I just go in there. I need to clear my mind. I don't talk about like things that are bothering me at all a lot. I keep a lot of it just in my own head, and I'm good at just putting on a smiley face. So sometimes I need to go to an AA meeting just to kind of, USA kind of. Um, but I think I'm done. Honestly, I'm done with the BS of it, the celebrity walk of the red carpet, stuff like that, because I've seen people down in the worst needing somebody to talk to, and a piece of ass was more important than talking to the newcomer. And I'm not talking about one isolated incident. I've seen this over and over and over. And so I'll say this last. My wife just losing it one night. I was drinking. She did not know what to do. She called my sponsor, and he basically told her, I don't know what to do. Tell him to get to a meeting tomorrow. I can't do nothing. To a degree. I think he should have. And this is like two different people she called, and they all said the same thing. He's on his own. Yeah. Get him to a meeting tomorrow. I honestly think, and me, if somebody would have called me and a wife said, hey, my husband, and he's just drunk, passed out, or he's on a binge drink and he's drunk right now, he needs somebody, I need somebody, I would find a woman in the program to go contact that woman, and us, two or more, would go and talk to this dude. I think that's really the root foundation of the 12 step, right? That's gone. The 12 step calls that I've seen, my wife has seen, you know, I think she tried like 5 different times and got rejected for any kind of help at all because I don't know why. Okay. So that's my little rant of why. And like I said, these are not just isolated incidences, they're more of examples. I kind of conformed it that way because I didn't want anyone to actually think I'm talking about them, because it's one of those things, if you're guilty, you're going to think it's you, you know. Um, and everything that I mentioned is probably somebody's going to be like, he's talking about me. No. Okay. Well, yes, but no. I'm not talking about that person individually at that individual moment. I took examples, or the examples I gave were compiled of many situations. So, um, get grounded in God's word. There's a book called Love Dare. I strongly suggest, if you're in a relationship, you're married, even if you're not, get this book, The Love Dare. Okay. Um, Based off of, there's a movie off of it, Fireproof. Check it, watch the movie too. Watch it with your spouse. It's a good movie, good little, movie to watch with your whole family. Um, but get grounded with God. Grab the Bible, get connected with God. And that's the other thing in AA. People are like, oh, Jupiter's fourth moon to the left, that's my God. I believe it. And I believe that God is helping that person get sober. I truly believe that. People are like, well, if only one God, then how come my God helps me get sober? Well, because your God is a God. My God is God of all gods. Okay. He kind of created them all. So um, there is a spiritual warfare out there. I cannot emphasize that enough. I used to downplay it a lot, but there is a spiritual warfare out there, and anything can be your God. And that, I'm going to say Satan, being the leader of all that, he will happily help you get sober. He will happily get that successful job. He will happily help you in ways that you just could not fathom it actually working out. Miracles, if you will, right? Look at Moses' story. Um, so, can this happen with other gods? Absolutely, it can. Is the outcome of the total picture worth it? Absolutely not. If Satan came up to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you $1,000,000 right now, and it's coming from me," I'd be like, "I don't want anything to do with it." Pretty, pretty sure I would say that. So, kidding. Uh, of course, I tell him no. But I really would. Jesus was tempted in the desert. All this I own. Jesus, Satan told Jesus, all the kingdoms of the world belong to me. If you bow down and worship, this is all yours. I will give it all to you if you bow down and worship me. Satan has a kingdom in this world, and people downplay it so much. People see Satan as this, little red devil with a pitchfork, just trying to make your life hard. No, I believe Satan could make your life very comfortable and enjoyable for the sole purpose to keep you away from God. So that's my little rant. I hope somebody made it through this far, or at least, jumped around and whatever, liked it, and played it later to, I don't know, fall asleep to. So have a good day. Be safe out there. I'm not talking bad about AA. I'm just saying why I'm not going anymore. And it's not like, I'm going to quit AA and I'm going to go drink tonight. Absolutely not. I've got a good spiritual foundation. And that's what I stand on, spiritual foundation. So enjoy. And I hope this video helps. And do not think I'm talking bad about the AA program. I'm just saying, for me, because I have seen it change lives. I've seen it save lives. I've seen it work great, good wonders for people. But you really got to put the work into it. You really absolutely got to go through the steps and go through the steps with somebody. Pick somebody you don't like. That's what I was told. Pick somebody you don't like. This go around, I did pick somebody I liked and got along with. But when I first started AA, when I actually got sober, I picked somebody I did not like. I hated him. He was an atheist, and I hated him. And I told him, I said, "Will you be my sponsor?" He's like, "Why are you picking me?" I'm like, "Because I don't like you." Somebody told me to pick a guy you don't like, and guess what? You're the guy I don't like. So, and I got sober for 2 years. And did he get me sober? No. But he called me on my shit. He called me out when I was effing up. And he helped me have a relationship with God. He's an atheist, does not believe in God. But he was able to help me get a strong, good foundation with God, because it is a spiritual program. And you can help somebody do something that they don't necessarily believe in, I guess, if that makes sense. So yeah. Have a good day. Be safe.